because I think that's inarguable now, right? I mean, they walked everybody up the hill, and then right at the point that certainly I think a lot of MAGA voters were expecting to have full disclosure on all the Epstein files, Elon Musk suddenly goes public and says, bombshell. Donald Trump's, the biggest bombshell is that he's in the Epstein files. 2-3 weeks later, everything is shut down. You don't have to be a mad conspiracy theorist to say, well, what's going on here? I did, and I've known Donald Trump 20 years and like him very much, and I totally accept that he might be completely blameless when it comes to anything involving Epstein of a nefarious nature. But the sequence of events here is not good.
So this latest episode of Piers Morgan Uncensored gave us something that we don't often see. Piers directly criticizing Donald Trump and his administration. This time, it's over the Epstein scandal. I wouldn't call this a full-throated takedown, but it was definitely substantial enough to turn heads. If this same scandal had implicated a Democratic administration, though, Piers would have turned it into a week-long expose. You can be sure of that. But the gravity of this story is so overwhelming that even Piers can't completely ignore it. And here, we see him not only call out Trump's inner circle, but also defend the Wall Street Journal after MAGA pundits launched attacks on it for exposing that bizarre Trump-Epstein letter. Piers does get his reps in, but let's break this all down.
Absolutely not, Piers, and it's good to see you again.
And you.
But yeah, Piers, and here's the thing, Piers. It's all the people, it's the team around him. Okay, Trump did make a promise, Piers, when he was asked, will you release JFK? Yes. Martin Luther King? Yes. 9/11? Yes. Jeffrey Epstein? Yeah. But with that one, we kind of got to be careful, okay? So it wasn't like he ran on it. It wasn't a campaign promise. But when your team, the Pam Bondis, the Kash Patels, and Dan Bongino, who I admire and I love a lot, are out there on the front lines making all these promises. Piers, you personally, if you had your team of producers and all these people around you, they're speaking on your behalf and they're making all these promises, wouldn't you be like, hey guys, shut the hell, what the hell are we doing?
Well,
so it's just shady from the
Vinny,
beginning.
I think it's worse than that, because we all know how Donald Trump operates. They wouldn't have all been doing that off their own bat, right? They'd have all been doing it because they had been encouraged to do it. They were speaking on behalf of his administration. So something went down, and I don't know what it was, and maybe it was the Elon Musk thing. I don't know what it was. I mean, we've now got the Wall Street Journal obviously publishing what they claimed was a hand-drawn, bawdy letter bearing Donald Trump's name to Jeffrey Epstein at Ghislaine Maxwell's request for his 50th birthday album in 2003. A pair of small arcs donate women's breasts. The future president's signature is a squiggly Donald below her waist mimicking pubic hair. Now, Trump has responded by saying it absolutely wasn't anything that he did. He's now suing the Wall Street Journal. He's suing Rupert Murdoch for billions of dollars. And we'll have to see how that all plays out. But it was no doubt that they were very good friends for a period of time. It's also no doubt that, to his credit, Trump dropped him when he became knowledge that he was a convicted pedophile, which a lot of other people didn't, including, I don't believe, Ghislaine Maxwell. So I do think there's life before the conviction and life after the conviction for public figures. If you carried on like Prince Andrew, hanging around a guy who's been convicted of soliciting an underage girl for sex, then I'm afraid you are then guilty by association.
Vincent Oshana, one of Patrick Bet-David's MAGA-aligned co-hosts, actually makes a decent point here. Though he's clearly doing verbal gymnastics to avoid laying the blame directly on Trump, like many others in the orbit, he does find it easier to shift the responsibility to people like Kash Patel or Pam Bondi. But even Vinny concedes this. Whether or not Trump explicitly promised to release the Epstein files, members of his administration did, and they did it on the record. And Trump appointed them. That means accountability is not optional, it's structural. Piers pushes even further, suggesting these weren't rogue statements, but ones that were made with Trump's knowledge or direct approval. Hey, you there. If you guys like this video, please consider subscribing, dropping a like, and maybe commenting. This really boosts the video in the YouTube algorithm, and we would like to spread this message to as many people as possible. Let's get back to the video.
Piers, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
You've known Donald Trump for 20 years, admittedly, yes? Okay. You've hung out with him in private. You've hung out with him in public. Yes. Okay. Have you ever known him to be a limp-wristed thespian, like a vaudevillian poet that would write enigmatic, mysterious poems to Jeffrey Epstein, and then wear some type of French hat and draw beautiful outlines of women scantily clad? Like, does it sound like Donald Trump to you?
I can say two things about that. I'll say three things about that. One, he's never done that to me, okay, in either written or verbal form. Secondly, evidence has come out that he's been quite a doodler in his time. So I don't think he's never non-doodled. And thirdly, as you probably know, Ben, I mean, I've got probably 150 handwritten scrawls from Trump over things he's read about me, emails I've sent him. That's his way he corresponds. He doesn't use email himself. He'll send you back a printout of your email and he'll scrawl with his Sharpie whatever he wants to scrawl. So he's a scrawler and apparently a doodler, but I have never known him write in the way that you're talking about. So it's going to be a really interesting case here. Listen, the Wall Street Journal wouldn't have published that if they weren't convinced it was genuine. But Trump has been, Trump has been emphatic in his denial.
Shouldn't he be calling for them?
Well, no, listen, I don't know.
Apparently, they don't even have the documents. Shouldn't he be calling for them to release every letter?
Right, listen.
Wouldn't that be fair to release? What was Bill Clinton writing Jeffrey Epstein at that time?
Benny, I don't know the answer to the questions you're asking, and it'll be interesting if this actually goes to any actual trial.
Then we get to Benny Johnson, one of the more performative and frankly misleading voices in the MAGA media sphere. Benny tries to discredit the Wall Street Journal for publishing Trump's letter to Epstein, but Piers is not having it. What's important here is the framework of responsibility. Even Piers recognizes that Trump's proxies, people like Pam Bondi or Dan Bongino, don't make bold statements like that unless they've been greenlit. In political media, these kinds of cues matter. It's all about what a leader permits, encourages, or fails to stop. Trump isn't just a bystander here, but he's the gravitational center.
And Piers, if you don't mind, Piers, and Benny, the biggest problem is that Truth Social post where Trump goes, hey, listen, if you're still talking about it, why are you talking about it? Then I don't need your support. And it's like, what are you talking about? People like me who've been there since 2016 in Los Angeles, I had to move. I was doing stand-up comedy and acting. You know how much crap I had to go through, punched in the head because I had a red hat, wasn't even a Trump hat. All the jobs that I missed, all my career suffered from it. Pat, we're ride or die, and I think that's where people were pissed off. Is don't just discard us, okay, and just tell us the absolute truth. You know, we just want the truth. Tell us the truth. Tell us what the hell is going on. You know what I mean? Like it's
Vinny,
BS.
I hear you.
It's
Vinny,
not like,
I hear you because I do think a lot of MAGA voters feel exactly the same way. But I think they were deliberately led up a pathway here on the Epstein files that A, it was a really big deal, and that B, there was a lot that the public weren't being told that was available to the authorities, and that the moment the Trump gang got back into power, that this would all be revealed. And then after Donald Trump won, the team carried on revving everybody up.
Now, let's talk about Piers' professional ties. He's not some outsider when it comes to Murdoch media. Piers Morgan Uncensored was originally funded by Rupert Murdoch, who also owns the Wall Street Journal, and Piers frequently appears on Fox News as the token centrist voice. But unlike commentators like Jessica Tarlov, who consistently pushes back on partisan talking points, Piers often grades Trump on a massive curve. That's why this moment is so significant. Piers acknowledges that a Murdoch-owned outlet like the Journal would never run a Trump-Epstein story unless the reporting was ironclad. And when Trump says, "I've never doodled my entire life," Piers reminds the panel and us that Trump's been doodling for decades. He's done it on multiple different occasions, and it's well documented. You can look this up. There's a clear pattern of dishonesty here, and this time, even Piers is not looking away.
Mick Mulvaney, as we're talking, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, has just sent the House into recess early, shutting down until September to block a vote calling for the release of the Epstein files. He says it's because the Democrats are playing political games. All other votes have been cancelled in order to prevent the vote on Epstein. So the idea of this isn't having real-world significant consequences is obviously for the birds. When the House is shutting down and other votes are being cancelled because they can't take a risk of a vote on Epstein, then it's a big deal. And I think it's a big deal because of all the activity on the Trump side before and after the election about these files. What's your view?
I think that's fair. I've never seen this happen before. I've been in Washington for 15 years. I was in Congress for 6. I was in the White House for 4. I don't remember ever seeing Congress just shutting down this early in July and leaving until September. Keep in mind, and I know that's not what this segment is about, but there's a lot of other things that Congress needs to be doing. The federal government runs out of money the end of September, so they're staring at a federal shutdown if they don't pull something off when they get back. This is a big, big deal, and I think it comes back to the point you guys have raised. They don't know how to handle it. Everybody's confused because Trump did make a big deal about this for a long time. I thought rightly so. And then just to sort of turn on a dime and say there's nothing to see here has a bunch of people scratching their heads. One of the most interesting things I've learned in this interview is a bunch of fascinating stuff. When you had Lauren Boebert on there, I don't think you'll find anybody more pro-Trump than Lauren Boebert in the United States House of Representatives. She has signed a discharge petition. That means very little to folks out in the real world. That's the most treasonous thing you can do against your leadership in the United States House. So if there's enough Republicans willing to go against the Speaker of the House and say, you know what, we don't care, we want this stuff to come out, that's also just sort of thumbing their nose at the president. Donald Trump a couple of weeks ago got asked, he goes, what does MAGA really mean? And he said, and he's got the right to say this, MAGA means whatever I say it means. This is putting this to the test. I do think they've stepped here. I think they've already sort of tacitly admitted that by saying they're going to now try to release the grand jury testimony, see if that satisfies everybody. It won't. But they do have a problem here. And for the sake, look, to be perfectly clear, and I don't know if this has been, I think if anybody said this explicitly, I apologize for the repetition. I don't expect there's anything criminal about Donald Trump in these files. Is his name going to be in there? Sure, there's a bunch of names in there, but there's nothing incriminating here. Why do I believe that? Because if there were, the Democrats who have controlled this file.
And finally, we get a rare moment of clarity. Piers calling out Trump for turning on his own base. Yes, it's reluctant. Yes, it's calibrated, but it does matter. Piers reaches an audience that doesn't usually hear pointed criticism of Trump, especially not from the right-leaning ecosystem. So when someone like Piers puts this on the table, even cautiously, it creates a ripple. It legitimizes the critique. So while the bar may be low, this segment was a notable shift, and it speaks to just how serious the Epstein issue really is. That's it for now. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next one. I'm Jake from Meet the Narrative, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.